Hello there. Here are some video directions for completing Lesson 2 in Unit 1. So you open up the Unit 1 folder on Schoology, which is in the pink distance learning folder. And just like you did for Lesson 1, the first thing you'll do is you'll go do daily attendance. On Tuesday, the first day of this assignment, you should click on this quiz here and complete the one question quiz. But don't do the Wednesday one right away. You should come in and do that one sometime on Wednesday before 3 o'clock. It's important that you do these quizzes before 3 o'clock on the day that they're assigned. So, like, don't take the Friday quiz on Tuesday. Wait for the day, go on there, check in, and do the quiz. After completing the quiz for Lesson 2 on Tuesday, you can go to the Lesson 2 folder. This one looks a little bit different. You'll see that it says March 31st and April 1st. This assignment is supposed to last 2 days. So, like, you have 2 days to complete it. So it's going to be a little bit bigger than Lesson 1. If you choose to get it all done on March 31st, that's great. If you choose to get it all done on April 1st, that's fine. If you split it up over 2 days, that's fine too. It's really your call. The topic of this lesson is the home front and discussing how Americans saw the war and what the purpose of the war was for them. So click on the Directions tab. We'll have our document and a written description of how to do the activities here. The purpose of the activity is once again posted here, and the different benchmarks and key concepts that you'll be covering over this 2-day lesson are here. Materials you need, once again, are only your digital device, so most likely your Chromebook, and the Lesson 2 assignment template, which can be found on Schoology. Okay, step 1. You're going to watch a crash course U.S. history video about the home front. It's about 13 minutes, 10 to 13 minutes long. You can take notes on it if necessary to help you maintain focus. If you just want to watch it and not write anything down, that's fine too. It's meant to be review. Then step 2, if you need further review on some of the major events and changes on the American home front during World War II, you can click on this link here. It'll bring you to a Microsoft Word document, and it'll have a bunch of links and videos about things like the Double V campaign, what happened with the Japanese internment camps, new opportunities for women, the Zoot Suit riots. So if you want to get more information about changes in the home front during the war, you can click on that. This is purely optional. We've actually learned about all this stuff already from before spring break during the last week of the trimester, but it's a chance for you to kind of go over information again if you need to. So if you feel like you know this content really well, you can definitely skip step 1 and step 2. If you're feeling a little bit rusty, I encourage you to look over these 2 steps. Okay, then after going over that review material, if you need to, I'd like you to read this article from WCCO News. It's kind of old now, but it talks about how some local Minnesota businesses have repurposed what they do to help fight against the spread of COVID-19. And this is meant to be an example of synthesis. Whereas during World War II, a lot of businesses mobilized and changed what they produced to help with the war effort, like Ford Motor Plant making tanks instead of cars. This is an example of a Minnesota business switching what they produce to something else to help fight against COVID-19. So that's an example of synthesis, 2 similar processes from a different time period. So I want you to read that article and consider how this is an example of synthesis. And then the big part, step 4, go ahead and click on this after reviewing the video and the review material and reading that article. And your lesson 4 assignment template, there are going to be 3 things that you are doing on this assignment template that are all about the home front and that are meant to develop skills that you may use on the APUSH exam. The first is you're going to look at this document here. You're going to click on this document link, and it's going to bring you to about 8 images. And you are going to use those images to respond to this statement. The statement is Americans viewed the war as a fight for the survival of freedom, blah, 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 blah. You can read it yourself. You are going to look at those documents, and you're going to write a 1-paragraph response, looking for 4 to 6 sentences that answers this statement by saying you strongly agree with this statement, you somewhat agree with it, you somewhat disagree, or you strongly disagree. You pick one of those, and you write about why you agree or disagree with this statement using at least 4 documents as evidence. Your response should be around 4 to 6 sentences. And it should not be like this huge 2-paragraph thing. It's a 1-paragraph response. You say whether you agree or don't agree with this statement and use evidence from those documents to back it up. And you'll type your response there in that red font. Part 2 is some SAQ practicing. You're going to use the ACE strategy, which is described here, to answer this visual stimulus SAQ. We have a picture of Rosie the Riveter. You'll answer part A, part B, and part C, and you'll type ACE responses in this box for that SAQ. If you need to review what ACE means, you can check this out here. And then the final part, you're going to do your own example of synthesis. I have a quote here from President Trump from a couple of weeks ago now about how the country is mobilizing to fight against the spread of COVID-19, and a little bit more context there about that. I would then like you to go over the internet, look over the internet, and find another example, one that's different than the one I posted earlier in the assignment, and one that's different than this example here, synthesis, of how the United States is mobilizing to combat against COVID-19. Some recommended search terms are here: regulations, resource rationing, social distancing. But try and come up with your own synthesis example of how the United States is mobilizing against this disease, just like we mobilized to fight against the Axis powers in World War II. You need to post a link to whatever article you find, whatever example you find, you post it right here. And then you type out a 4 to 6 explanation of what your example is and how it is related to World War II mobilization. If you have any questions, let me know. Good luck. Oh, before I cut off, this is due Wednesday, not Tuesday. It's due Wednesday by midnight. So you have 2 days to complete it. And ideally, like, it should be about an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes in length to complete this assignment. So it shouldn't be taking you hour after hour after hour. This is supposed to last an hour to an hour 15 minutes.